1771. What's your name and what are we doing today?
My name is Minister King X of California Prison Focus, Cage Universal. So I'm here with attorney Richard Tan, and my other attorney, Eric, and Kelly, she's in the back. So we're here today because there's a lawsuit against CDCR for Penal Code 4571, and some of the discriminatory statements that they made inside of our police report stipulated that I, along with others alike, accentuated are black identity extremists. So we're here because people being criminalized without fair and constructive notice.
Right. Tell us about what 4571 is.
Penal Code 4571 says that if you had a felony conviction in the past and you are on the grounds of or lands adjacent to a prison or a jail, then you've committed a felony, unless you get the permission of the warden of the facility. Now, the part lands adjacent thereto is very potentially flexible, let's put it that way. So one of the problems with this statute is that if you're standing on a public sidewalk, as King was doing when he was demonstrating for Rochelle's freedom, you could potentially be liable for violating Penal Code 4571. The other problem is that CDCR applies the statute in a discriminatory and retaliatory way.
Right.
There are people who are on the grounds of a prison who have had convictions who are not prosecuted for 4571, but somehow when King was demonstrating for the longest held political prisoner in California, then CDCR and the Investigative Services Unit discovered that he was violating a penal code section, and they found a reason to grab him from in front of his office in West Oakland and imprison him.
So what's your name again, huh?
My name is Eric Sapp. I'm an attorney with LSPC.
Yeah, you mentioned in the press conference specifically about the building we're standing in front of and how there's desks and offices and what I would call paper knives. And what the metaphor, or the reality that you articulated, can you speak on that a little?
Yeah, so this is the headquarters of the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. So this is where the executive level decisions and administrative work is done on a statewide level. But of course, the real impact of the decisions made here are felt in the prisons throughout the state and in the lives of people who have been subjected to mass incarceration. And those effects continue after release, and this law 4571, which we've challenged as unconstitutional, is a very stark example of that, because it runs against the principles that this country, however hypocritically, professes to believe in, such as freedom of speech and assembly guaranteed by the First Amendment of the Constitution. Because what 4571 says, as Richard mentioned a moment ago, is that even if you're just adjacent to a jail or a prison and you've been formerly incarcerated in a state prison, that will mean that you're guilty of a felony offense unless you get the permission from the warden or sheriff who runs that facility. That is also what's known as a prior restraint, which means you have to ask permission to be able to speak, to gather with others, to express your views, to have a conversation on the street with someone, just to be present in public space, which is supposed to be a democratic right. And so we think that law can't stand, and so we've challenged it in federal court, and right now there's a pending motion from the defendants to have that suit dismissed. There's a court hearing next week in the Eastern District Federal Court, several blocks from here, and we'll see how that process turns out, and hopefully this case will be going forward and we can get some justice for Minister King, for all of us or none, and for everyone who's affected by this issue.
So, Minister King, I know that hypocrisy that I see here is you, from the gate, from the minute that the plantation system you left from, nailed you, if you will, with all this BS. You call yourself an artivist. You're an artist, you're a cultural worker, and everything you do every day in lifting up our elders and liberating our elders, and the work that you do in solidarity with so many of us, including us houseless and poor folks. How would this 4571 literally stop you from doing the work that you do?
I mean, starting inside, we were subjected to decades of solitary confinement, sensory deprivation, and when you come out here into society, you lose the right to vote, and we had to fight for those rights through Prop 17. And every day we strive and we struggle to fight. But when I think about having the opportunity to have an impeccable team of litigants by my side to help us narrate this story that we're subjected to corporate malfeasance on the inside and out. Without Kelly, without Richard, without Eric, I would still be incarcerated. That's something that I really want to highlight. So when All of Us or None came to our aid, when I was in front of California Prison Focus, Dorsey Nunn came outside and he seen these unclothed officers who had me kidnapped inside of an unmarked car, unmarked vehicle. And he asked them, well, why is he in cuffs when this guy promotes the agreement to end hostilities? He's not promoting violence. He's not engaged in any underground criminal activity. And they said, because I violated my parole. Well, if I violated my parole, I should have went back inside. But it was because of the litigation of the facts that came about that I was held captive without a trial. So this is why we're here, because Penal Code 4571 violate your due process in every aspect without fair and constructive notice.
Okay. That's what I'm going to turn over to Kelly.
Hi.
So, I don't have much belief in the Constitution, but wouldn't this be unconstitutional?
Oh, without a doubt, it's a violation of both First and 14th Amendment rights, the ability to demonstrate freely, but also the ability to know what is and what is not legal. We need to know what is adjacent to. That is not a term that has parameters around it, pardon the pun. So the inability to know where you can be at any given time and to make it a felony to be on that location is, yes, most definitely a violation of one's constitutional
And
rights.
implications, and whoever wants to answer this, implications on the rest of us protesting. Anyone want to answer that? Maybe go ahead, Kelly.
Oh, I would say essentially very similar to what I just said, that it has huge implications for anybody that's previously been incarcerated. They are at risk of a felony.
I would go so far to say, though, if they get away with this 4571 mess, what's the hop, skip, and a jump to all protesting?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Without a doubt, yes, that's a valid point.
So-called freedom of speech? I don't think so. Any last words from anyone before we close out? I just want to say I appreciate you.
Yeah, just, one of the things this lawsuit is about is vindicating the rights of all people who have a record in the state of California. That's what Minister King is out here fighting for, and that's what we're trying to, vindicate in this lawsuit.
Oh, Mateo, and how can they support you, King?
You can follow me on Instagram, official Minister King X. You also can follow our case on All of Us or None, Legal Services with Prisoners.org.
Prisoners with Children.
Legal Services with Prisoners with excuse me.
Right. Somebody read it.
Somebody better tell me.
Richard, read it.
It's www.prisonerswithchildren.org. One word.
I apologize out here.
All power to the people! Beautiful. Thank you, everybody.